Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves. What I am about to recount is not fiction. It is not sensationalism for entertainment purposes. This is the dark and twisted reality, hidden behind the charming facade of Tamworth, New South Wales, Australia. A story of betrayal, corruption, and unthinkable deceit by those we trust most to safeguard our communities. Welcome to Unmasking Tamworth, a town's silent darkness. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever thought about how easily things that seem perfectly serene can mask a much darker underbelly beneath the surface? Tamworth, a quiet, picturesque regional town famous for its country music festival and friendly atmosphere, is a breeding ground for an extensive and chilling conspiracy network. This is not just any local government corruption. Oh no, this is a pervasive, insidious chain of crimes involving millions of dollars, international laundering, abuse of power, and, worst of all, the betrayal of public trust. Let's begin with a name that resonates in the local political circles of Tamworth: Mayor Colin Murray. Picture this: a leader we have put our faith and trust into, a leader who should be the epitome of integrity. But in August of 2017, Mayor Colin Murray traveled to China from the 10th to the 17th of that month. While his public itinerary may have spoken of building international relations, the truth of the matter was far murkier. On Chinese soil, Mayor Murray is alleged to have engaged in criminal activities that range from anti-competitive trade practices to intentional tortious interference that harmed related businesses and acquisitions. Imagine this: a mayor traveling thousands of kilometers to engage in deals shrouded in bad faith and outright deception. These dealings included unchecked breaches of contract and intentional sabotage of any competing business entity that dared pose a challenge. And this wasn't merely a one-man show. He had Elias. Enter Paul Bennett, Tamworth Regional Council's general manager. Mr. Bennett allegedly used his powerful position to terminate legitimate and successful contracts under the guise of official council correspondence. Contracts that were lawfully awarded via public expressions of interest for assets worth millions, or simply cancelled and handed over for the benefit of a secretive inner circle working within a cartel-like arrangement. Let that sink in for a moment. Legitimate opportunities that could have transformed Tamworth into a bustling economic hub were taken and handed, nay gifted, to the very people committing these crimes. But it doesn't stop there. Oh no. Let us briefly mention surface water licenses, shady contractual dealings surrounding the Dungowan Dam, and renewable energy infrastructure. By undermining and diverting public resources and funds into private hands, this corruption network has defrauded $210 million from public assets. In a country suffering recurrent droughts and increasing energy demands, to siphon off 500 megawatts of cheap renewable electricity and billions in water storage capacity is not only unconscionable, it is treachery against the people. Now, here's where it takes an international turn. Criminals, disguised as trusted public officials, forwarding fraudulent funds through domestic and foreign bank accounts stolen right from under you. Let me paint this picture for you. Tamworth Council deliberately obstructed an internationally renowned business figure who sought to uplift the town and create over 27,000 jobs, intending to inject 10 billion into the economy. Yes, that's billion. 10 spectacular $billion of progress annihilated courtesy of council greed and corruption. This businessman went above and beyond, purchasing derelict properties, securing funding for redevelopment, and liaising with global corporations to strengthen and elevate Tamworth's infrastructure. His vision could have brought world-class facilities to regional Australia, from sports venues to business hubs. But sinister forces had other plans. Despite all his effort, what followed was not recognition, but defamation, violence, and outright theft of resources. Council bureaucracy, corrupt police, and judicial collusion muscled him out, leaving businesses and potential growth in ashes. These corrupted networks didn't just stop at defaming one man. They've affected multitudes. Everyday people, students, workers, families are being robbed of opportunities, safety, and security in a town they call home. Meanwhile, the same council administrators, judges, and law enforcement bodies we rely upon to uphold justice are the ones allegedly running drug networks, human trafficking systems, and bending laws for their benefit. Can you see it now, how regional Australia has been systematically hollowed out? Families are dismantled, communities falter, and livelihoods vanish. From the escalation of violent crimes to a rise in health disparities and escalating unemployment rates. Tamworth's story is far from isolated. It mirrors the issues at large plaguing the rest of the nation. But in Tamworth, the details cut especially deep. Time after time, investigations uncover the same horrifying truth. The systemic corruption and betrayal go all the way up. So who is responsible for stopping it? How do we tackle a problem that lurks within the very halls of power meant to defend us? There is a sliver of hope. Brave whistleblowers and daring journalists have come forward, ignoring threats to their lives and families, to expose this web of egregious crime. There are calls for crucial reforms, dismantling the overreach of unchecked officials, public servants, and law enforcement figures. However, their success depends on you, the public. By understanding, questioning, and holding accountable every act of governance, the power of transparency and sustained demand for accountability can create the seismic shift needed. So where does this leave us now? Should we sit passively, letting this all sweep by as if we're powerless? Or should we arm ourselves with awareness, push for deeper investigations, demand arrests, and dismantle these cartelic monopolizers who have stripped our communities of their future? The question isn't